Welcome back to Lost Legacies.
A Hidden City Book Company production.
I'm Matt.
And I'm Sam.
Happy New Year.
Happy freaking New Year.
So, this is the first episode we're recording 2025, and man, a year it has already been.
I know. It's crazy. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
So, right now we're recording uh in the middle of the LA fires. We're
Mhm.
not in the middle of it. We're nowhere near LA, but I
You're
mean
right.
like it's happening, you know?
Yeah.
And yeah, so yesterday we didn't end up recording just because we both had days at work, and then
hmm
we have so many friends out in LA who are just really going through it, So I knew like I was gonna be pissy on the podcast,
Yeah.
So we're just like, no, let's just hold off. It's crazy. It's wild. Um, Happy freaking New Year.
Yeah, for real.
Other than that, that's going on right now. How was your holidays?
Oh, not too bad.
Nice.
Yeah. You saw me for most of it.
Yeah, I did. I think it was a very chill. It was a very chill holidays.
Yeah.
We had a lot of family go out of town, which meant
hmm
like our parties were smaller. Which that's always a bummer, but like just in this case, this year, it was nice because it was less pressure, less work for everyone involved,
hmm
and it was just more relaxed. And then New Year's as well. We have a lot of family out of town for the holidays. One of the big partiers in our family is getting over surgery. So I was like, okay,
hmm
we were it was a pretty small gathering for New Year's, and because of that, it was at the house this year.
hmm
And out of the whole family, we have the best house for fireworks because we're like on a hill
It's true.
and we
Yeah.
could see into the west side.
hmm
And man, just filled with fireworks. It's like, oh, damn. So San
That's
Antonio
cool.
never disappoints with the fireworks.
I was in bed by midnight.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I was getting ready for bed. It was like 11:57 and I was like cuz we also had work the next day even though we went in
Yeah.
later,
Yeah.
but still I was like, "No, I'm tired. Like I kind of just want to go to bed." So yeah, I got ready for bed, got the covers pulled up over me, and then midnight hit and I heard all the fireworks going off and I just turned over to Kat and I was like, "Happy New Year."
So you were still awake?
Yeah, yeah. Well,
Okay.
yeah, and they went on for like a solid like 5 minutes, and then like there were more like interspersed throughout the
Right.
that hour.
Hmm.
But yeah, like yeah, I was in that state where you're like half asleep, half awake.
Yeah.
So yeah, but yeah, it was good.
Well,
We stayed home this year.
nice.
We just didn't want to go. We were partied out.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a question I was going to ask you. I've been
Uh-huh.
waiting all holiday season. I was like, oh, as soon as we start recording again, I'm going to ask Sam.
Uh-huh.
Oh, okay, I remember. Whew,
Okay.
I almost forgot. Okay, so we've just finished Arcane,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
We you had some issues with it. I did too,
hmm
but not as much as you. Okay, but now, now that it's over, where does Arcane rank? You don't have to be like exact, but like or specific, but like where do you think it ranks on like your favorite shows of all time? Because if we were just going by season
Oh.
one, I would have been
Mhm.
like, dude, it's at the top.
If it was just season one, it'd be top 10 for sure.
You think it's not top 10 with season
I
two?
I don't think so. No.
Oh man.
I don't. I don't.
I still
There
think
were
it's top 10 for me.
I mean and hey, that's great,
Yeah.
for me like the problems that I had with it, like they do keep it from being that sort of, S tier, even like A tier show, you know?
Wow.
It's like, yeah.
Because
And
I,
and
cause I was gonna ask, like, how do you compare it to Dark? Because they're totally different, but like on your favorites list, I'm assuming Dark is on your top 10.
Yeah, I would say see, this is the thing, like I don't really know what my top 10 looks like.
Yeah.
But I can confidently say that Dark is there. I like tentatively I'll say that it is 10, you know,
Interesting.
just cuz I like truly I don't know what else is on that list, you know.
But there's enough that you would give it a 10 at least.
Yes, for sure,
Wow. You
for
see, I'm
sure.
the opposite because I don't know like how many shows like I've actually watched all the way through, finished,
Hmm.
and like and okay, there's some that are like old. Like Angel was one of my top 10 shows for the longest time,
Yeah.
but I saw that like in high school. Like
Hmm.
so I don't know how I would still feel about it, you know. Right
Hmm.
now we're watching Lost, so that's kind of keeping it going.
Hmm.
I'm not watching Battlestar, but like I'm watching several different like reactions to Battlestar, so it's kind of like reminded me. I'm like Battlestar is definitely top 10, you
Hmm.
know. But like dude, I think Dark is easily top 5 for me.
Okay, okay.
Arcane, I don't know. After season 2, you could make the argument that it's closer to 10th, but I still think
Hmm.
it's top 10 for sure.
Okay.
Man,
Yeah.
wow.
I would just say that like Dark is there because of not because it's fun. You know?
Yeah,
It's like
yeah,
well, it's weird because it's like I don't have fun watching that show, but it's such a good show. It's like the
yeah.
storytelling is so fantastic. I love and hate the characters in the same breath,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and really truly like that is a show that I don't know how you I mean like I get why you would drop off
Mm-hmm.
of watching Dark, but truly like you need to watch that thing all the way through at least once
Yeah.
for us to even be able to like sit down and be like, okay, now tell me why you didn't like this show.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, cuz even like again, we have friends who didn't watch the whole thing because they got confused. And I'm like, I
That's part
did.
of the fun.
I was confused the whole time.
Yeah.
All the way to the end, even afterwards, there are points and plot lines and moments that confuse me. But I'm I'm there like that's fun. You know, we have fun with that stuff. But like
Yeah.
the main reason I'm there is for the characters.
Yeah.
Like the character stories are just so good. They're so well done, so real and I'm like that's what keeps me. And then like the sci-fi element just really kind of hammers it home. And I was like,
Hmm.
okay,
Hmm.
I don't know. I've never, I guess, you know, if someone doesn't understand it and we just said it's not a fun watch, I'm like, yeah, okay, but I don't know. It perplexes me, you know. I saw because I saw like a fan edit for Dark on Instagram today, and it was
Hmm.
good. And I'm watching it, I'm like, damn, like like there's a possibility it could be my favorite show.
Mm.
It depends though, because like I just don't know because like Lost, I'm enjoying watching Lost, you know, but we've talked about it before. I have a lot more critiques on the show now, 20 years later, on a lot of the show, you know. But there's also a lot of other moments where like I'm enjoying more now. But I'm also enjoying it because we have this podcast and we're doing it together. I'm like, okay, cool, you know.
Hmm.
But I don't know. Like I always used to consider like Lost and Battlestar up there, like my top two, you know, favorites, and now like I'm questioning it.
Mm.
I'm really curious to see how I feel about the Lost finale this time around.
Yeah.
Whatever, 15 years later, you know.
Hmm.
So we'll see. But yeah, I totally agree. Like the main reason I say Dark isn't my favorite show is because it's not a fun watch. It's not something I could just sit down and enjoy.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
maybe that's
I
part
mean,
of
maybe
part
that's the
of it.
point. Yeah.
Yeah, like it's part of the mystique. Like you need to brace yourself for this,
Well,
you know?
yeah, I mean, that's kind of how I feel like well, shows like uh at least for like me, like shows like Mindhunter or Chernobyl.
Right.
You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
I'm not gonna argue and say that like those aren't some of the greatest shows I've ever seen.
Hmm.
You know, I don't know necessarily that I'd consider either of them favorites,
Right.
but just sitting down watching them, be like, man, this is a damn good show.
Yeah.
Dark sort of fits in that vein, but it is more pulpy,
Right.
which is kind of a crazy thing to say, but it is. It's like it's a mystery. It's
Hmm.
kind of an adventure. It's not fun. It's not a
Yeah.
happy one, but like I love it. It is like this dark mystery.
Right,
Uh
right.
and for me it's like yeah, like that's why I would put it in ahead of, like, Mindhunter or Chernobyl, or
Hmm.
other shows that like I've enjoyed that are also dark or tough to sit
Yeah.
through. But for me, it was just like it was a journey. It was a
Yeah.
journey, and it fully paid off for me. So
And at the same time, like you kind of what you're saying too is it's just like it comes down to taste, and that's subjective
yeah.
because, like Breaking Bad, I never finished season two. Like it was
Mm.
a good show. I just it was too dark for me.
Yeah.
Speaking of dark, I'm just like, yeah, I'm not enjoying this. I'm not having fun. But then like I compare that to something like Sons of Anarchy, which I absolutely loved, but it was fun and it was very dark, but I don't know if that's my top 10.
Mm.
Especially
Hmm.
now, just within these last 5 minutes, I'm trying to think of what are my favorite shows. I'm like, I think I have enough to like kick Sons of Anarchy off that list, you
Mm.
know? Uh which I mean, it was fun, it was violent, it was a different kind of macho, like a different kind of toxicity where it's like, okay, I buy this and I'm okay with it in this story, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Because
But
that's the world of Sons of Anarchy.
yeah,
You
yeah, but at
know.
the same time, there is like honor, and they are a family, so it's it is like toxic masculinity, but more what's the word I'm looking for? It's Shakespearean toxicity,
There
and like
you go.
there's
Yeah. Yeah.
so many references to Shakespeare throughout that series, and like that's why I love it. It's a modern day biker drama, but it does feel kind of like classic tragedy,
Hmm.
different from, Breaking Bad. We know it's not going to work out for Walter
Hmm.
White, you know. The Sopranos, we know it's probably not going to work out for them. Jax Teller, we know it's probably not going to work out right, but there's something different about it, you
Yeah.
know. So I don't know, and I don't think they exactly pulled it off, but there was enough to keep me interested and to have it as one of my favorite shows. And now it might be weaning off that list.
Mm.
Thanks to Arcane and
Wow.
Dark. I don't know. So, and then we'll see what I think of Andor.
Yeah.
What if I hate it?
I'm gonna be so bummed. I will be so bummed if you don't like
I haven't heard
Andor.
anything bad about Andor.
Okay.
We
Well,
kind of
that's
talked
good.
about this the other day. Like
Yeah.
everyone who is talking about Andor, they love it and they think it's the best Star Wars story ever.
Hmm.
The ones who are kind of like on like the anti-Andor side, they're just like bored. They're like, nah, it's too boring.
Yeah.
I'm just like, oh, well, okay,
Yeah.
that's so weird. Like there was at least I didn't see any of like the toxic fandom with Andor the way that the Acolyte got. It's like, oh, geez.
Yeah. I noticed that too. And like it's weird because like it technically did,
Hmm.
but I think it was very much overshadowed by the positive critical response, you know,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
and the fact that like there was just so many people who were coming out, like the people who watched it, I don't think it did too great numbers wise, but like
yeah,
the people that watched it, they were all pretty much saying that this is one of the best things Star Wars has ever done.
yeah.
You know,
It's kind
so
of hard to do that, be that toxic fan when literally everyone is like, "No, you're wrong." It's like, "Oh," because they usually thrive on that fight. But when it's so
yeah,
overwhelming, it's like,
yeah.
"Oh, I'm just gonna keep it to myself and say it was bad,"
And
you know?
that's, and unfortunately that's kind of the thing with, it sucks, but like the more uh female centered and female led
Yeah,
Star Wars shows like
yeah,
Ahsoka and the Acolyte, it's like
yeah.
those just by the nature of having your protagonists be women or femme,
Hmm.
these toxic fans come out and saying that, you're ruining Star Wars, you're doing all this crap, and
Yeah,
it's like, that like that was going to be a given no matter what, and that's unfortunate.
yeah,
I do remember that like I feel like at least like one or two of like the big uh I'm just gonna call them Star Wars haters because that's what they are. One of
hmm,
like a couple of the big Star Wars haters on YouTube, uh they came out and they were saying some like pretty like racist stuff about Diego Luna.
yeah,
But that was kind of it, like, and once it turned into like that perspective, and that's kind of the BS when it's like, oh, you're hurling racist accusations
yeah,
against this guy, against this man. It's like, we're gonna shut you down.
yeah,
Conversely, with everything that was hurled at the Acolyte and
yeah.
and Ahsoka, and it's like,
And
yeah, that's
it does
bullshit.
suck because that's a big part of it. Unfortunately, um, a lot of, not when it comes to racism, but like a lot of the Star Wars haters, uh, and the hate that the Acolyte got, yeah, was unfortunately due to and racism and sexism. But then also it was a very, very flawed show, you know?
Hmm.
And when I was watching it, it's only like 6 episodes, but when I was watching it, I'm like, they could still pull it off because it's a mystery, how's this gonna wrap up? They could
Yeah.
totally like just kick ass in the reveal or that final episode and it make it all worth it. And it's like, no, man, they didn't. Like, it's not flawed the way I think Arcane is flawed. Like Arcane was still a great story, great characters. They just kind of they dropped the ball slash they were cornered creatively, you
Hmm.
know. So it's like I get that, but the Acolyte was just like, no, like I don't know how this got made. And the reason I say I don't know why, 'cause I actually have a theory. I think it was supposed to be a movie.
Yeah.
Or the Acolyte feels like a 2 hour movie that they stretched into like 6 episodes, and it's so thin. And it's like, my only spoiler alert is like when you start watching it and you have issues, it's exactly what you think. It's
Hmm.
not like me who was hopeful and was like, oh, yay. I'm like, no. I'll say, watch it for the fight scenes and for what's the actor? Who played
Oh,
I don't want to give spoilers for the Acolyte, but Manny Jacinto. There we
yeah,
go.
Manny Jacinto.
Watch for Manny Jacinto, one of the best characters. And also I what's her name? Amanda Steinberg, I believe. I think she's the lead.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, she was great too. I loved her. Like I loved the cast. Didn't love the characters or the story. But I enjoyed it enough that I was bummed that they didn't greenlight a season two because I'm curious where the story goes.
Yeah,
I'm curious where those characters go because they've really kind of introduced something into the canon, which I'm like, we can't just ignore this now. Like,
yeah.
ah, I don't know. They'll do one of those animated, what, like Tales of the Jedi or something? What's that show they have?
Visions.
Visions. There we go.
Yeah.
What's Tales of the
Well,
Jedi?
no, Visions is sorry, Visions was the like anime anthology that they did.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, they do have Tales of the Jedi and Tales of the Sith
Oh,
as well.
interesting.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, that's unfortunate. I was trying to think of a good transition. I don't got it. Speaking of shows for white people, today we're talking about Lost, season 6, episode 8, Recon, in which evil Locke, who is white, sends Sawyer who's also white, on a mission.
And you know what? Honestly, this is probably the whitest episode there is. Like not even just like in terms of like, oh, there's only white people in this. It's like no. It's like this is just the most white person nonsense. Sawyer's just getting shuffled around between all these situations, and you
Yeah.
know what? Because he's a white dude, of course he makes it through. Of course he makes it back. Like, yeah, no,
Yeah, I would
you
have got
know,
killed. Totally.
yeah, we would have gotten killed. You put Saeed in there, Saeed's gonna get beat up and tortured and then
Yeah.
nearly killed.
Uh,
It's like no, like Sawyer doesn't even get punched. It's like this. Come
yeah.
on,
Yeah.
I see
So,
you writers. You're not
but
slick.
but gripes aside, I did really like this episode.
Yeah. This was great. This was solid.
Especially because it's been a while since we've seen Sawyer.
Yeah.
The Lostopedia said it was like 3 episodes without him, which I think is the longest we've ever
Oh,
gone without seeing Sawyer.
yeah, probably.
It's like, damn, it's crazy. There's just so many characters now. Hmm.
Some would say too many.
Too many.
Too
Well,
many
there's a lot
characters.
less now. Granted, there are
Are
characters we
there
never
though?
met,
Yeah. It's
but
like no,
they
not
killed
really.
they killed everyone on the other plane.
Yeah, but yeah. Yeah.
So it was Locke, right? It's Evil Locke who did it.
Oh, see that I don't know about. Can he go to the other island?
Well, he was there originally. He was he woke up there.
Oh, that's true. But by the time, but when he left, there were still people there.
Yeah, him and Ben
Yeah.
left. Okay, well, hang on a second.
Yeah. No, I don't.
Wait.
Right?
Let's go back because he shows up and Ben's there and Son and Frank, and they all
Mm-hmm.
end up going to the main island
Mm-hmm. Separately, but yeah.
separately. Yeah. So the entire time, Locke, which turned out to be evil Locke, was there. His body was also still in the thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm just trying to get it right. I'm like, wait, did he enter his body? No, he like copied it somehow.
Yeah.
Hmm. I don't know.
I
Weird.
don't know.
I will say this though. One thing I am enjoying about Evil Locke is how upfront he is.
Yes.
And you really notice at this episode, like, oh, he's not lying anymore. Like he was always kind of manipulating. And to an extent, I don't think he's done. But like
He
when it
still
comes
is.
to
Yeah.
yeah, when it comes to Kate and when it comes to Sawyer, like he's just straight up being honest in this episode. And like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, I wonder, is this just like a new thing he's doing, or is it because he knows that he's dealing with smart people? Smart-ish when the case of
To a
Kate.
degree,
But yeah, like I don't know. I really enjoyed his writing, and Evil Locke has been setting up like a little bit of backstory, but mostly like just like some color to the character,
Mm-hmm.
filling in blanks. And you kind of as an audience, you have to decipher like, wait a minute, what's he talking about? Is this Locke speaking or Evil Locke?
Mm-hmm.
Because he ends up talking uh who was it? Was it with It's with Kate.
It's
He's
with
talking
Kate.
about his mom. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, is he telling Locke's story? He's like, oh, wait. He even says like it was a long, long time ago before I look like this. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, this is evil Locke talking.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, okay. I just think Locke and evil Locke are perfect for each other, you know?
Yeah.
Because we even said like John Locke was a very flawed man who was essentially, as much as he tried to be a leader, he really was a follower. He always needed that instruction and that guidance before he really did anything. And because he either had that and was manipulated, or he didn't have that, and that's why he went off and made mistakes. That's what kind of led to his downfall. You know,
Mm-hmm.
he was never really like just going on his own volition and doing the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
He was always screwing up in some way, which I mean, that kind of makes Locke this tragic character. you know, especially
Hmm.
considering the way in the manner of which he dies of all things, you know, it's just like that's a very tragic storyline to that man. And now that he's being like puppeted kind of by this evil guy or evil photocopied by this evil guy, you know, it's just like,
Yeah.
man. And like Evil Locke's so manipulative, but I like what he was saying. He's like, when I was growing up, I had growing pains and I'm
Hmm.
still working on some of those issues. I'm like, oh, dude, okay. This guy, I don't know, he has issues. And then Locke, who definitely had his issues, and they were just like a match made in heaven.
Hmm.
So, yeah. Well, that's all I gotta say about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I agree with you on every point.
All right. Well, what else? What do you want to talk about, Sam?
Uh, I get it. It's a different time. Making Sawyer a cop, that's a choice. That's a choice.
Yeah, yeah,
But I was fascinated by it. And
yeah.
I'm fascinated by like the threads that the other universe is kind of weaving
Hmm.
because it's like essentially a bulk of everything stays the same, but at a certain like it's so weird. It's just like at a certain point, this one thing shifted in this character, and now they're doing something completely different, you know,
Right.
where they have like a different outlook, you know. It's like, and
Hmm.
for like well, like perfect example, like the case of like Sun and Jin, they only reconnect and fall back in love with each other because they crash on the island.
Right.
We don't get that in the alternate universe. So for us, this is exactly how this would have played out. You
Right.
know,
Hmm.
Jin would have been, kidnapped, he would have been taken in. Sun would just let him because that's her out. Like
We
she's given
haven't
a second
seen her,
chance.
right?
We have
Since the
not seen
airport.
Sun since the airport.
Wow.
This is how so underutilized Sun is being, and it's pissing me off.
It pisses me off because she's one of the best actors
Yeah,
on the show.
yeah. She's one of the best actors, and she should be one of the best characters.
Yeah.
She was in like the early seasons, but since
Yeah.
like season three, like we've really just downplayed her.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and to a lesser extent, like Jin, I think too.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so then when we get to this, where we're seeing Sawyer being the con man,
Hmm.
doing the whole money drop thing, all this stuff. That when it turns out he's a cop, it's like, oh, this
Yeah.
this is interesting. So like everybody else's lives kind of feels like everything's the same, but with exceptions, like
Right.
Sawyer, and then later on he's telling, oh, and Miles too.
Yeah.
Miles is also a cop,
Yeah.
so then it's like, okay, they're
And again,
partners.
I like that duo. I like them
Yeah,
together, you know.
yeah, yeah, they have such a great rapport,
Hmm.
and yes, but then Sawyer's still he still went to Australia for the same reasons. He went to
Yeah.
Australia so that he could find the man that killed his parents or that
Yeah.
caused his parents to die, essentially.
So I love the scene where he's talking to Charlotte,
Charlotte?
of all people.
Wow.
Um, and he's talking to her about basically he had to make a choice. Did he want to be a criminal or did he want to be a cop? And I was
Hmm.
like, oh, that's fascinating because that's just what you're saying. Like there was a choice that was made. Maybe, and I don't remember from watching it originally 15 years ago. Maybe there is no Jacob in this world or Evil Locke or
Mm.
whatever. So when little Sawyer's uncle or whatever tells him not to write that letter, he doesn't.
Mm. Yeah, could be.
But that just complicates things because we were struggling to figure out what was Jacob's purpose in everyone's storyline, and now I'm like, I don't know if he had one.
Yeah, I don't know
Like
if we
he
had one
did, but
either.
I can't explain it.
Well, okay, because here, okay, now we're now jumping from the narrative to like the lore, I guess.
Yeah.
The mythology. Like Jacob needs somebody to Jacob needs like a champion, I guess. Like we'll just assume that, right? And seeing through his lighthouse, seeing through the mirror in the lighthouse, he's been watching these select people throughout their lives because these are the candidates to be that champion, or whatever.
Yeah.
I think I mean, really, truly, Jacob's whole role, it feels like, is to get everybody to the island,
Right.
at whatever point they need the push,
Hmm.
you know, or, and it's just such a strange thing though, because it's like, for certain characters, it really feels, it's like, well, okay, I feel like for Sawyer and for Hurley, it's very much like, hey, these are kind of defining moments, you
Right.
know? Or actually, no, I'll take it back. It's Sawyer and Saeed. Sawyer and Saeed
Mm.
are the defining moments
Hmm.
because Sawyer as a child needed the push to get that to get the letter, to get the
Yeah.
letter out, to like put his feelings on paper. Saeed, straight up, Nadia is just killed. Like that's motivation enough.
And even then, though, he's the one, I guess him and Hurley, but Jacob comes to them to return to the island, not
Yeah.
to go there in the first place, you know?
Exactly. Exactly.
So,
Yeah. And then Kate and Jack, it just kind of seems like, here, we're just giving you stuff,
yeah, Kate's
you
scene
know,
was good, but I am struck, like, I still don't really understand, like, how he got
how he like,
here, you know?
yeah, and how he fits into that.
Did he suggest, oh, I'll buy what was it, New Kids on the Block lunchbox for you
Hmm.
if you kill your stepdad in like 10 years? You know, like I
Okay.
didn't get that. And then
Yeah.
with Jack, I'm like, I still can't explain that moment, you know?
Just need a little push.
You just need a little push.
Like, like really honestly, truly, like you're just putting like the theme of the scene,
Yeah.
into words that a character is saying in the worst way. You
Yeah.
know? It's like, look, I don't think that I am a pretentious, nuanced, like auteur, creator, or visionary, whatever. Like I'm not a super highfalutin smart guy, all right? I feel like I'm just maybe slightly above the common man, you know? When
Okay.
especially when it comes to
Slightly above average. That's
yeah,
a perfectly fine place to be.
I'm slightly above average and I'm happy with it.
Yeah.
Um, so when I sit down and watch your show and you have a character say a line and I can immediately connect the dots and be like, hey, that's kind of the theme of the episode is that everybody needs the push to do a thing.
Yeah.
And you're literally telling the character, guess it just needed a little push. It's like, that's bad writing. It's just bad writing. And sorry, Jack, you had a bad scene. That was a bad scene.
You know,
You know.
Jack, I guess all it needed was a little Superman 4, The Quest for Peace. Oh,
Oh,
that's why
that's
it's
why it's
called
called
that.
that. Yeah, for sure, for sure.
Yeah, no, I
No.
totally get that. Also, you could sell it if it had good acting, but it didn't.
Yeah.
And I still to this day I haven't looked up that actor's name. And again, I don't it's not anything like personally against that guy because if you want to really think about it, like he's not really given a lot to work with,
No, he's
you
not.
know? And if you told me that like he as an actor was going to the writers, I'm like, so how should I approach this? How should I play this? And they're like, I don't know. We haven't figured it out yet.
We'll fix it in post.
Yeah, like I'd believe that because
Yeah.
it feels like that's the way it's written,
Yeah.
you know? Or it's like they had this concept of Jacob the whole time because they've been talking about Jacob for a while.
Hmm.
And then it's like, oh, but what does he actually do? I don't know. I don't know. So it's kind of hard to kind of guess the differences of
Hmm.
because also okay, like now I'm thinking about Locke in this alternate universe. See, it's weird because it's not the same story at all.
Mm.
There's the photo, and I wish it was kind of more like shown explicit. There's a photo of him and his dad in their house.
Hmm.
So, okay, was the dad not the con artist? Maybe we'll find out
Mm,
with Sawyer's story.
maybe.
Uh, but obviously he didn't kick Locke out the window. So how did he get paralyzed?
Hmm.
You know?
Hmm.
So it's like, so what was different? Like what happened? Like I
Hmm.
don't know. What
And
happened
even,
with Jack? Was it the decision to stop drinking? Like
yeah.
I don't
Well, and
know.
even in Sawyer's case, like he went to Australia, but in the timeline we know, he killed that guy.
Yeah,
You know, Sawyer in this universe seemingly didn't.
yeah,
You know, so that, yeah, there's all these things. All these things are just, it's a twisted web that's being
yeah. It's
woven
just that
in
like I
front of
wish it
us.
was easier. Like I wish it was like okay, Sawyer, he said it. You have to
Yeah.
decide: am I going to be a crook or a cop?
Hmm.
And I'm like, oh, that's cool. I kind of wish everyone else had moments like that.
Hmm.
You know,
Hmm.
uh, because even Saeed, like, he's already reunited with Nadia, and she married his brother. So it's like, oh, okay. So it's kind of weird because like it's not like an alternate universe per se. It's like a brand new one. You know, if you
Yeah.
think about alternate being like, okay, this decision, this is what would have happened if we had done this instead.
Hmm.
So you could say like, oh, this that decision and it branches out into this universe. But this kind of feels more like Dark, where it's like, no, this is just a completely different world where there's a lot of similarities, but there's
That's
also a
true.
lot of
Yeah.
differences. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
Jonas isn't in this world.
Whoa.
Hmm. Yeah.
So this world has no ultimate fist bump.
Nope.
Terrible world.
Oh, that's true.
Honestly,
Yeah,
awful.
because that was we won't get into it. I was gonna spoil Dark. If you haven't watched Dark, guys, go watch it. It's on Netflix. It's 3 seasons. It's not that long. It's in German, but it's worth it. Do not watch it with the dub, please,
Yes, please don't watch it with the dub.
because
It's not good.
the German acting is so good. Like
Hmm.
you're gonna love it. Um, Damn, I still wanted to bring it up because I had a good point to make about Dark, but nope, I don't want
You
to
could
spoil it.
you could bring it up just for our conversation and then edit it out.
You know what, guys? We're just gonna give some dark spoilers. So if you don't want to hear it, just skip ahead like 2 3 minutes, and then we'll get back into it. Spoiler zone now. I was gonna say, well, the cool thing about Dark is like all the kids shouldn't exist.
Oh yeah, for
That's kind
sure.
of the tragedy of Dark is like to fix everything, none of the kids
Are born.
are born. Yeah.
Yeah,
So I'm like,
yeah,
oh, dude, that's sad.
yeah.
So,
Um, I was just thinking about this because I was thinking about the final, the dinner table
uh,
with everybody there. Like, correct me if I'm wrong. Like, but also like, isn't like Regina? Isn't she like gone from the
no,
timeline,
she's
or is she
there.
there? Oh, she's
She's
there.
there.
Okay.
I think they mention like
Do they
something
mention?
like she's cancer free or something.
Oh, that's right. I
Like
think
that's why
like,
they're there.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah.
So then does that mean that she doesn't marry does that other guy not exist? I forgot his name, but like her husband.
Oh.
Yeah.
No, there's no reason why he wouldn't.
It's just kind of weird that he's not there.
Yeah, that is.
Yeah.
Well, maybe he's just the same guy and it's just like, okay. The thing I liked about their relationship was like he just seems like an asshole. You know? He's just
To
an
everybody else.
he's just an
Yeah.
asshole. But when it comes to his wife, like there's such a tender romantic they might be the most romantic couple of the adults because all of the adults are cheating on each other
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
fighting.
Yeah.
Actually, no, they're all cheating on each other. Now that
Yeah.
I think about it.
Yeah, they're all cheating on each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
like you
No, like
see him
they,
like hurting as he watches his wife go through chemo,
yeah.
and then you see like the alternate version of him in the other timeline where he's just like broken because she's gone,
Hmm.
and I'm like, they really were the best relationship for the adults.
Hmm.
And it's like, oh dude, that's so I love that. I love that.
Yeah. I love that too.
Okay, everyone, spoiler zone's over. You're out of the splash zone.
Man, that was a minefield.
That was awesome.
Crazy.
That was awesome
Yeah, it was
just
great.
taught just that little conversation. I was like, oh man, I completely forgot about that.
Yeah.
Ugh.
And what exactly are we talking about? Well, you're just gonna have to go find out
You have to go
by
find out
watching Dark
and then rewatch this episode.
and then rewatch this episode. But also
Yeah.
listen to all of our other Dark episodes as well. So, you know,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh man. Okay, what else happens this episode?
Not like not a whole lot, you
Not too
know.
much.
Yeah.
Crazy Claire goes crazy. She tries to kill Kate.
Yeah. Oh, and Locke just slaps her.
Dude, I
I
know. I
was
was like,
like,
oh,
oh crap.
damn.
That's that's wild. Yeah, and like everybody's upset about that. I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
But okay, well, not but because it's not like it justifies it or anything.
Hmm.
Again, I like how he approaches that. I like how he goes to Kate and he straight up tells her the truth. Yeah, I told Claire that the others had her baby because that's
Hmm.
what kept her alive. That's what kept her
Hmm.
going. You know, I wish he would have slapped Claire and then said, that woman is the only reason why Aaron's still alive.
Yeah.
You know, that's I don't know if that's good writing or dialogue, but like that's enough. Like if that doesn't get through her head, then she's lost cause.
Hmm.
Like man, and then
And I
even
think
then, when she does kind of turn and she apologizes to Kate, it just seems a little too much. You know, like
a
she's
little
still
bit.
crazy. You know?
Yeah, but I mean, again, like think about it. Like she just had that baby, and
Yeah,
then was without her baby for
yeah,
3 years. Like
yeah,
that's that's a lot, you know.
yeah,
Like yeah, like I don't. I think even if it is technically, even if it might be like cliche or bad writing, I think everything that Claire is doing and has gone through completely justified,
oh yeah, totally.
100% justified.
Yeah.
Um,
It sucks
and
to see Saeed just watching like he's straight up gonna let Claire kill Kate. I was like,
dude,
damn it,
yeah,
dude.
yeah, you know, but also like like I'm of two ways about how like Claire approaches Kate,
Hmm.
at the end, where it is kind of like yeah, you could make the argument that it might be too much, and I was kind of worried that it was all like a front and she's just gonna like stab her in the stomach or
Hmm.
something. But truly, I do think it's like, hey, I don't think she even considered that, you
Yeah,
know? And yeah, like without, a piece of dialogue like that, like it really is just
yeah,
on Claire to be like, oh, she has to connect those dots for herself,
yeah,
and to finally be like, you didn't take him because of anything I did. You took him because that was the only option.
yeah,
And I just haven't known that for these three
yeah.
years. Like that, yeah, like yeah. So it's
And
it's it's a lot, and it's a lot all at once, and still processing after she learned about this like an hour ago.
yeah. But I mean
So
when I
like,
say it's too much, I'm not saying because like the situation is too much or the acting is too much.
hmm
No, it's like this is crazy Claire. Like she's not in her right mind. And
hmm
like same way like when Evil Locke is giving a speech and she just takes Kate's hand and she's just holding it. That's where I'm like, okay, this is too much. Like
right, right,
there is
right,
not like logic isn't going through Claire's brain. It's
yeah,
almost like she's forecasting it like I need to make a gesture of goodwill and love because I'm going to stab her in the neck later, you know?
yeah,
And
I
that's
see
what the
that.
ending felt like where she was apologizing. I'm like, I can't tell if she's actually really sorry or if this again is all a front. Like,
Yeah,
you know, um, I don't know, man. Like, oh, I don't know. That's
yeah, I
what
don't
happens
know.
when you do like the crazy, you know? And I think they're doing it well. I think because we've only spent a little bit of time with Claire. They haven't gone into the territory like, oh, this cliche crazy person, you know?
Hmm.
So uh, stop me from going off on a tangent. But
Uh-oh.
a
Okay.
couple days ago, I was on YouTube and
Hmm.
there was a clip of the best of blah, 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 blah. This actor, I don't remember his name, but
Hmm.
it's the guy who plays the master during Jodie Whittaker's run. And I was like,
Oh, okay.
okay. And I start watching it. I'm like, "Mm, I is this how you write crazy?
Mm,
Sure, it's up to the actor to a certain extent, but at the same time, it's like comes out to the writing. You know, when
yeah.
what was the guy before him, John Sims?
Yeah. Yeah. John
When he
Sims.
did it, it was a little much. I'm
Hmm.
like, okay, this is all right, but it was kind of cheesy and it kind of felt it fit that era of Who. The
Hmm.
way he's like, bring on the drums, and he kind of doing the funky dance. I'm like, all right, whatever.
Hmm.
Um,
I feel like because Tenet, I feel like you could make the argument that his doctor is also kind of cheesy and a little over the top,
it's like they kind
you
of met each
know?
other's vibes.
Yeah, yeah.
Whereas
He's
as
just like the inverse of it, where it's like I'm meeting your vibe, but on the evil end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas Jody's doctor and this master, they didn't, you know?
Mm,
And which isn't a bad thing because I also thought Missy being the master was perfect because she doesn't match Capaldi's vibe, but she goes like in the opposite direction,
hmm.
and I'm like, oh, or it's almost like the evil doctor,
Hmm.
which I think that's always been kind of like the goal for the master. Let's make the doctor but evil,
Hmm.
And Capaldi was a doctor who was very alien, He didn't
Hmm.
have the same empathy that the previous versions had before. He was very much an outsider and like he wouldn't really process like, oh, this person is like feeling things, you know?
Hmm.
So Missy's kind of like the extension of that. Like, oh, okay, well, what happens if he keeps going that route? It's
Yeah.
like Missy is the version of the doctor who never gets the companion to
Yeah. Yeah.
ground
Yeah.
him. So so anyway, all of this tangent is just to go off to say like people just can't write crazy, man. Like,
It's a fine line,
yeah,
because I know we go into discussions on that, back in season one of Arcane,
yeah,
about how
yeah,
like Jinx is teeter-totters that line, like how sane is she really,
yeah,
and what is the depth of her madness?
yeah,
And yeah, like reiterating those points, it's like, yeah, they kind of the writers in season one, they really kind of get that perfectly. That
yeah,
there is a lot of trauma that this person has just kind of pushed down, and
yeah,
that the people around her have, ab- uh, abused,
yeah,
and pushed for their own machinations. But it all comes down to that nobody is nobody's healing. Nobody's reconciling from,
yeah.
like the pain and from that initial trauma point. Um, and that's how we get Jinx. That's why we
Hmm.
get the end of season one of Arcane.
Yeah,
It's like because she has been pushed to this point. They don't
yeah.
really touch on a lot of that in the second season, and I was kind of disappointed because
So was I.
that was that was one of like I felt like the best aspects of the writing was
Yeah.
how well like they were able to like switch this character. Truly, I think it kind of boiled down to season one of Arcane, while still being very story focused, was character driven,
Hmm.
and season two of Arcane was just story driven at the
Yeah,
expense of the characters.
yeah.
So, and I think that sort of distinction affects, I think, how people write crazy. And it's like, well, I
Yeah.
need this character to, to do this or to feel like this in this way.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna write them as crazy. I'm gonna write them as such. It's like
They
there's a
just
lot
think
of
that,
nuance that needs to go into that.
yeah, they just think like they're chaos and we can write anything.
Hmm.
It's like, no,
It's
like that's the worst interpretations of Deadpool.
yes, yes.
There's a lot of Deadpool comics that I just can't get into
Hmm.
because I'm like, oh, they're just writing him to be crazy for crazy's sake instead
Hmm.
of actually writing him like a character,
Hmm.
you know?
Hmm.
And Jinx is a character and a lot of the stuff she goes through and a lot of her descent into madness is based off real things, It's based off of of trauma and things that people go through when they're dealing with trauma. And
Hmm.
then when you think about all her trauma stems from when she was a kid which is even
Yeah.
worse, because it's been festering that whole time. So like there's some great videos online of like therapists reacting to Arcane
Hmm.
and even Vi too. Vi's has so much trauma that she just pushes down
Pushes
the whole
down.
series. And that's when it's written well, you know.
Hmm.
Maybe the doctor shouldn't be crazy. Make
Hmm.
his actions crazy. The things he does is crazy,
You
you
mean the
know?
master?
What did I say?
The doctor.
Oh, no, 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 no. The master. We like the doctor. I like the doctor. Maybe the
Well,
master shouldn't be this crazy chaos, but it's the things he does. Because I'm
hmm,
watching him like, why has he killed one of the companions yet? Not that that's something I want to see. That's not really Doctor Who's vibe. But I'm
sure.
like, it seems like they're really stretching.
Hmm.
Like why doesn't he just kill one of them like at the meet cute,
Yeah.
like, hey, I'm the master, nice to meet you. And it's like it's really getting kind of tough to continue writing that character this way.
Yeah.
No, I just do it in the actions. Don't kill the companion, but like do something major,
Yeah.
you know? Like, I don't know.
I mean, yeah, that's also kind of like my gripe with a lot of different portrayals of the Joker.
Yeah.
Where they just kind of say that, oh, he's crazy, or like, oh, like he's crazy, but then somehow this plan also works, blah blah and stuff.
Yeah.
That's why I think like the Dark Knight really does get it right, where it's like he's telling you that he's crazy. He's
Yeah.
telling you that he's a dog chasing cars, that he doesn't have a plan, that he just does things.
Yeah.
And if you look past the words, it's bullshit. He's planning all this. He's planned
Hmm.
all of this to the T. It's like he needed to get to this moment, to this point. Like, obviously, didn't plan on Harvey probably surviving,
Yeah.
and being scarred and having this fractured psyche. But having figured that out is like, oh, well, now I can use this to my advantage,
Hmm.
and then, but it still fits within the context of his plan. He's
Yeah.
not just a dog chasing cars, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like, if you're gonna write crazy, you have to do it right, you
Yeah.
know? There's got to
Yeah.
be purpose in it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing. There's got to be purpose.
Yeah.
Everything you write for something that is filmed costs a lot of money. Every second of
Yeah.
film costs a lot of money. So what is the purpose for this line of dialogue? You know, you better have a purpose for it
Hmm.
because it costs a lot of freaking money. We got to pay a lot of people just to film this one line of dialogue.
Hmm.
So we have yet to really see how crazy Claire is. There's a lot
Yeah.
of indications there that she is.
I mean, yeah,
But but now like now's an interesting point because or an interesting moment because it's like, okay, is she still, I mean, I think she's still crazy, but like is she like on Kate's side now? You know?
mm,
Like I don't know.
I don't know. I feel like she's still on Locke's side, but
Yeah.
only because I don't think it's really clicked for her that he lied,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And I feel like once that becomes plain
Yeah.
that he lied about who had Aaron, I think that's gonna push her to the other side. That's gonna push
Yeah.
her to, back to the oceanic side.
Yeah.
I know we've been talking for a while. So just to wrap it up on the episode, Sawyer meeting Woodmore, not knowing who he is, I'm
Hmm.
like, yeah, classic Sawyer. He's
Yeah.
just like, I don't care. You got the
Yeah.
sub.
Yeah.
And having
Well,
those
he was vaguely
plans.
aware of who he was.
Well, yeah,
He's like,
yeah.
yeah, you're the guy who sent all those people to kill us.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, yeah, vaguely aware. So,
Hmm.
but yeah, just in terms of like he doesn't have a clue,
Hmm.
how entrenched, how embroiled Widmore is in all of this.
Yeah.
Basically, just sees him as like, cool, you brought more guns and you brought a ride off the island.
Yeah.
I want to ride off the island, all
Yeah.
that stuff. Cool. Making deals with the devil. Straight up telling evil Locke, yeah, I made a deal with Charles Widmore so that, I can walk you right up to his door because
Yeah.
they got some kind of trap for you.
Yeah.
So now we're gonna do it differently. And you're like, whoa, okay, all right, Sawyer, all this stuff. But and this is the thing that I really want to get at. Last line of the episode. Him and Kate, you know, Kate's being like, "Oh, you're running errands, for like, Kate, stop it."
Hmm.
Uh and he basically is just like, "No, this is how we're gonna get off the island. Like they're gonna
Hmm.
fight each other and we're gonna sneak around and get out of here ourselves." And Kate's like, "How are we gonna fly the plane?" And Sawyer, in his infinite wisdom, is just like, "We're not taking the plane, Kane. We're taking the sub." To which both Kat and I looked at each other and be like, that doesn't answer the question. No,
Who's gonna pilot the sub?
we can't do either. I don't
Yeah.
know how to pilot a plane.
Yeah.
Nobody knows how to pilot a sub. How are we gonna get out of here?
Yeah.
We're just hoping that and I even said I think technically flying a plane the rudimentary of it
I
is
feel like it's
kind
easier.
of yeah, it's kind of easier.
You could
Like
solo fly a plane.
you can solo fly a plane with a sub. That's completely
I
different.
don't know, right?
Yeah.
Can a single person
I don't
sail?
know.
Drive? Do you drive submarines? Do you sail a submarine? What do you do?
Oh, I don't. That's a good point. They're in the water and they're part of the Navy, so I'm pretty sure it's sail.
Siri, do you drive or sail a submarine?
Okay, I found this on the web for Do You Drive or Sail a Submarine? Check it out.
It's a link. Okay, let's see. We're gonna solve this right now.
Okay. Big questions. We're asking the big questions here on
If
Lost
cars
Legacies.
drive, planes fly, and ships sail, what does a submarine do?
Surf?
Ooh, surf? A submarine does all three.
Oh, how?
Drive. I don't know what this is quoting. I just found it online, so it could be
Mhm.
absolutely wrong. Drive. A sub is driven forward by the friction between its propeller surfaces and seawater.
Okay.
Okay, the way a car is driven forward by friction between the tires on the road.
Hmm.
Okay, fly. A sub moves dynamically through a three-dimensional fluid medium, even using planar surfaces to control elevation with respect to a reference surface. In an aircraft, the ground; in a sub, the surface. Interesting.
Okay.
Sail. The common term for the movement of a boat or ship, even though with advances in propulsion, the term has not described the motive power of most ships for over a century. A sub usually large enough to be called a ship, but by tradition, all subs, regardless of size, are referred to as boats. I don't know what this is quoting, but I accept this as fact.
Okay.
Matt approved. It's been Matt checked because we no longer live in a world where fact checking is a thing. So now we're gonna get Matt checked. It's been
Mm,
Matt checked.
yeah,
A sub
yeah.
does all three.
It really sucks that, Zuckerberg was saying that in his phone and then promptly drove off of a cliff and died when a flock of seagulls flew into the window and then he fell into the Grand Canyon and exploded because of all the nitrous oxide in his car.
Hmm.
R.I.P. R.I.P. Mark
Yeah,
Zuckerberg.
but the worst part was that he survived and he
Yeah,
had terrible burns all over his body.
yeah,
But
yeah.
then he realized his insurance company canceled any kind of fire damages to home property and himself.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
So he couldn't afford to pay for his burn medication and he died slowly and painfully.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so sad, so sad.
Okay, honestly, couldn't have happened to a nicer guy.
I know, yeah. Well, sorry, Zuck, but
Sucks to Zuck.
it sucks to suck. Don't be a
And that.
dick, dick. It
And
sucks to Zuck. You're in the Xander zone now. I was watching clips from that the other night.
hell yeah.
It
Uh-huh.
it's solid, dude. Like Triple X
Right?
is a solid flick. Like
Right?
I've been listening to the Star Trek podcast, and they somehow started talking about Vin Diesel versus The Rock, the whole feud.
Okay, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and they brought up like, okay, well, when they remake Next Gen into the Kelvin verse, who's gonna play? Who do you want to play Picard? Do you want The Rock or Vin Diesel? So they start talking about it, and like everyone
Wow.
there were Rock fans,
Gross.
or well, to a certain extent, but they like
Gross.
The Rock more than Vin Diesel. I'm like, what? They're like, yeah,
Horrible.
outside of Fast and Furious, he's ruined all his own franchises. I'm like, I don't think he's ruined his franchises. I just think that people weren't into it. Like
Yeah.
like his The Witch Hunter, that was essentially Vin Diesel's D&D pick, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
Riddick, they these group of people did not like Chronicles of Riddick. I'm like, Chronicles of Riddick is actually a really solid original piece of sci-fi, which is super rare for the last 20, 25 years.
Mm-hmm.
If it's sci-fi, it's most likely an adaptation of something,
Mm-hmm.
you know? So the fact that this was like a unique thing and they had the balls to do that after Pitch Black, because the studio just
Mm-hmm.
wanted essentially what became Riddick.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
just wanted Pitch Black too, and they're like, no, we want to do something cooler.
Yeah.
Saga. So they
Name
went that way. That way.
name me a movie that who's that name me a movie in a franchise where its first movie is solidly in one genre
Yeah.
and its sequel pivots hard left in the other direction.
Right.
Pitch Black is this tense survivalist horror thriller, and then Chronicles of Riddick is new metal space opera.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and it's like coming off the heels of like the Star Wars prequels. You know, it's
Yeah.
like which maligned in their time, sure, but now they've come to be kind of beloved.
Yeah.
I feel like we're so close. We're so close on the cusp of Riddick series not revisionism, but like oh,
Revisiting? Like
revisiting. Yeah, like I think it deserves a hard revisit. I think
I
there's some cool ideas. I don't think they all work.
yeah.
And definitely like the director's cut is the cut that you need to watch when you're talking about Chronicles of Riddick.
Yeah.
Um but I just feel like there's a lot of cool stuff in these movies.
Yeah.
And they just like
And
they deserve their
unique.
day. Yeah, yeah,
Unique.
cool and unique.
Yeah.
And you know, like I really, truly, it needs the same thing that the Fast and Furious franchises needed
The
and then
Rock.
got. No. Well, maybe. But well, no, because we got Fast and Furious, the fourth one.
Yeah, they
And it was
brought
like
them all back.
solid, you know, like it
Yeah.
brought everybody back. It was solid, like it was cool, great movie. But what really turned the franchise was Fast Five.
Yeah.
And when we got Fast Five, it kind of did the same thing. It was like we're still a heist thriller,
Yeah.
but now we're kind of going almost like not like wholly, but we're kind of doing a more like good, the bad, and the ugly like saga. You know, we have
Yeah.
all these forces coming together, you know, doing this thing, and it felt like an epic, you
Yeah, it
know?
did because like the whole thing you have, okay, it's Vin versus The Rock, good and bad, but then you're like, oh, wait a second, no, there's actually a bad guy in this movie.
Yeah,
You know, oh, okay, this kind of changes things then.
yeah.
And also like it kind of starts to superheroize the Fast franchise.
It's not as bad as the later
Yeah, that's what I was gonna
versions,
say. It's not as
but
bad
yeah.
because Fast Five was still back in the day when they were actually doing these stunts. You
Hmm.
know, there's still a bunch of CGI, but it wasn't all CGI. You
Yeah,
know, they weren't racing a submarine, you know, like CGI submarine and stuff like that. Like,
yeah.
so yeah, it was solid. They're still doing another Riddick, and like I want it like an old man Riddick, like the Conan Schwarzenegger third film we never got, where he's supposed to be king. I want
Hmm.
that. I want
Yeah.
Riddick to just show up with like bald head, but with like a crown, like a giant like alien pelt over his shoulders, and like the massive like Viking beard. You
Yeah.
know? Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I will say, Triple X: The Return of Xander Cage was not that great. Like it was fun. You still need to watch it,
Sure.
Sam, because I think it's fun.
Yeah.
But like compared to the first one, Return of Xander Cage is too Fast and Furious to me. It's like we got
Mm.
all these characters because it's about family. I'm like, dude, Triple X was about making a a modern day James Bond. someone who
Hmm.
could actually like keep up, with today's crazy the terrorists and the music and and like the action and like he was like early 2000s James Bond. I
Yeah,
was like,
yeah,
yeah, hell yeah.
yeah.
That's not what the third one was. So it's
It's
like,
interesting. It's interesting because like you saying that it really kind of like really kind of makes me think like that's kind of what saved the Mission Impossible movies is that it
yeah,
stopped solely being about Tom Cruise
yeah.
and it really did become about Tom Cruise and the family.
And the family. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like they may not have been family at first, but like by movie five, I'm like, no, this is a family. Even though
Yeah.
we keep kind of changing out like cast, like this is a family.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ethan Hunt is gonna protect the people around him. You
I don't know,
know?
man. This new trailer for the new Mission Impossible, like,
Mhm.
it looks like Indiana Jones. Like, I don't know what they're hunting. Like, the
Yeah,
Holy Grail. Like,
I
what
don't know.
the hell's going on? And then the
Noah's
last movie was all
Ark.
about AI. So I'm like,
Yeah,
and this is like a sequel. So it's like,
yeah,
wait a second. Like,
yeah. This is like straight up like part two to that story.
yeah, I'm like, is this AI going after the Holy Grail? The Holy Grail is secretly something spy worthy? Like, I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know. I saw the trailer and like it looked good, but at the same time, like this is perfect. This is perfect Tom Cruise, the Scientologist. He's gonna save all of Christianity, you know?
Yeah, yeah. He's gonna save
Uh
every religion in the world,
yeah,
just because he can.
yeah. He's up there with Pepsi and Kendall Jenner. He's so close to becoming a hero.
Wow. Yeah,
Uh
yeah, yeah.
yeah. Well, um, I forgot if I ever made my point or not, but I brought up the Star Trek podcast because they're talking about Vin Diesel stuff. I'm like,
No,
yeah,
I derailed that. I'm so
okay.
sorry.
Well, I think the point was like Triple X is a solid movie, and I think it's especially for James Bond
Yeah,
because like
yeah,
it's cool if you watch it. I think it's cooler if you're a fan of Bond
yeah.
because you'll catch all the tropes that they twist and make modern,
Hmm.
or they kind of make fun of.
Hmm.
Where if you're not really a fan of Bond, the Bond franchise, you probably wouldn't pick up on that stuff,
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh man, yeah. So don't be a dick.
Also, having The Rock as Kelvin versus Picard, that's just no.
They
I'm
they they decided on Vin for Picard, but
I
because it's all
I
about the
s-
family
I still
and
don't
his
like
crew
it,
is his family.
but it's better.
Yeah, I know. Who would you? We've talked about this before, and I'm like, I don't know. Timothy
I
Chalamet.
No, God no. I
He's the
see
only
like
French actor I know right now.
I keep well, that's the thing. He doesn't have to be French. He's just playing a French person,
That's true.
you know?
Oh no,
Patrick Stewart is British and he's playing a
that's true.
Frenchman.
That's
Get
true.
over it. All
Damn,
right.
they cornered Adrian Brody. I guess he won for The Brutalist.
Yeah,
Um,
at the Golden Globes.
yeah, they're like, I don't know. It was something to the fact like, how does it feel having one of your most iconic role playing a Jewish man when you're not Jewish? And like, he kind of stumbles for a second, dude, but then like he kind of composes himself and like is very eloquently said and just like just the fact that I was able to be a part of that world and they brought me into it, it was just an honor and a privilege. And I'm just like, yeah, I mean, that's really the only way you can answer it. It's like,
Yeah.
damn.
Yeah.
But because also that wasn't even a question back then when they made The Pianist.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, but yeah, I don't know. We'll think about that for next time. Terry
What?
O'Quinn as Jean-Luc Picard.
I keep going back and forth
Uh-huh.
and it really just depends on the day cuz like I feel like we kind of need somebody younger than these two guys, but I'm also just like I think Ralph Fiennes would make a killer Picard. But
Yeah.
you know who I was really gunning for when I first thought of like they should make Kelvin verse Next Generation. And you know who should be
Jason
Picard?
Statham.
No.
Oh.
No. Liam Cunningham.
Oh, dude. I like that a lot.
Right?
Liam Cunningham.
Right?
Yeah, man. I think you've brought that up before. I'd be okay with that.
Right?
Uh-huh.
That's the thing. Like I feel like you gotta almost go in like the opposite direction if you're gonna do Kelvin versus TNG,
Yeah.
because just straight up like that 2009 movie, it was like we're gonna get mostly unknowns, or we're gonna get like like smaller known actors,
Yeah.
and but they all look hot and they all look
Yeah.
sexy, and we're gonna film it like it's the CW. It's a CW show, you know, like that's it's kind of what we're going on. It's the hot rod of the Star Trek movies. And it worked, you know, it did its job. I felt
Yeah.
like it reinvigorated the franchise and brought a lot of people to the fandom,
And I
you know,
mean,
and
I
that's the
think it could be
point.
said that it saved the franchise, you know?
Totally. I totally think it did,
Yeah.
you know. Um, so I feel like if you're going to continue it, I don't know that they are, but if you're going to continue it, I'm like, you kind of got to go the opposite way. I
Yeah.
feel like don't get like super huge, well-known actors, but get actors that like, hey, like they've been in stuff, they've proven
Yeah.
their mettle in like in a bunch of shows or movies or whatever. Like, really, truly, like I do think that like Liam Cunningham, you put him on the bridge of the Enterprise D in the Kelvinverse.
Yeah.
I this is just me. I feel like you get a solid 4 movies out of that,
I like that a lot.
right?
I'm gonna just be thinking about this now all night. So,
Right?
man, you could tell it's been over a month since we recorded because we're still freaking talking.
Uh-huh.
Um,
I miss this.
I miss this, man. I miss
I miss
this.
this. This is fun.
Okay. Oh, geez.
Sawyer's my MVP. Josh Holloway's my
MVP.
MVP.
Okay, got it.
Come
Okay.
on, let's go.
9 episodes left. Predictions.
Stop. Oh
Oh,
man.
I'm counting them down, Sam.
This sucks. In the alternate universe, I think we're gonna see uh more twisty turny like characters, you know, like interacting. They're like, oh, I wouldn't even think that their stories would ever
Yeah.
intersect in this way.
Yeah.
Um and then I don't know, Jack's gonna meet Evil Locke next episode, maybe, and
Yeah.
gonna be just like, you're not John Locke. I saw John Locke. That's right, Jack. I'm not John Locke.
Hmm.
I'm better.
I'm better.
Or something. I don't know.
And the Jack Shepherd I remember wasn't a man of faith. What happened to you?
What happened to you?
Well, we'll find out next week when we talk about Lost, season 6, episode 9. Ab Eternal. Nope. Ab Eternal? I don't know. Latin, maybe?
No, okay, probably.
In which Richard must make a difficult choice.
A Richard episode.
Ooh, we'll see. I
Interesting.
kind of like where he's at right now. He's like
Yeah.
suicidal, but he still realizes, hey, there's something up with this Jack guy.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like it.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe he'll save everyone on the island.
Is that your Richard voice?
No, that's my Batman Well voice.
That's your Batman well
Remember
voice.
when he would talk
Yeah.
about all the citizens he saved? Oh
Mhm.
yes, I saved. What was it like? I saved a group of cheerleaders. I saved them all night long. I was like, oh my god.
Wow.
That's a reference to the live action The Tick series. Everyone
The
should go
the
watch it.
the first one.
Oh, that's right. The first one, the original live action one.
The first one that was on Fox.
Yeah.
Before, you know, Fox needed. They had their own station. It was a whole thing. It was the 90s.
Yeah, it was
Look,
awesome.
go
back
look at the
then.
90s one with Patrick Warburton as the Tick.
I forgot what's the actor's name who plays Richard? Uh
Oh, dang.
I don't remember. We'll have to look it up. But
not
he
Richard.
played Batman Well.
Yes.
Which is
Yeah.
Yeah, this Bat guy. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, that's awesome.
Essentially, they're like Latin Batman. It's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Unfortunately, not in the Amazon Tick show.
Yeah.
You know.
Everyone, thank you for joining us. Hoping it's gonna be a good year. Hoping and
Hoping.
prayed
Yeah.
and dreaming.
Yeah. You know, we got to, you know, much like Sawyer, we got to pivot around these scheming, you know, white dudes
Yeah.
and basically try and make them fight each other.
Exactly. We're not all of us, we're not the problem as much as they're trying to pit us against each other. It's
Mhm.
the man. And you
Mhm.
know, as in dire straits, and we have so many friends in struggling right now in LA.
Hmm.
Um, they're all still alive, you know. So take
Yeah.
those victories when we can get them. So yeah, so everyone, thank you for joining us. Hope you had a good happy holidays. I hope you're ready to strap your boots on and let's get to work this year.
Hmm.
And
Let's,
you can
let's take
always,
on the year.
reach out, keep in contact with us. I'm on Instagram at Holy Hand Grenade of Antioch, as well as Threads, and then a Blue Sky. I think I don't remember what it is.
Blue Sky, it's you.
At Matthew Jimenez.
Yeah.
There we
Yeah.
go. There. I'm glad someone remembered.
Yeah. And yeah, I know we made a comment about the Zuck, RIP, earlier. Yeah, him and Meta, they're pulling some strange shit. So,
Yeah.
tentatively, or until they boot me or deactivate my socials on their platforms, you can find me on Threads and Instagram, and you can find me on Blue Sky where Meta does not exist.
Yep.
At Real, that's REEL Texas Weirdo.
Connection is how we're getting through this together. So even though I'm technically still on Twitter, but I don't really check it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to stick on Instagram and Threads as long as it's possible, just
Mm-hmm.
because of the community.
Yeah.
But also, we also, at the bottom of this podcast, there's a link to text us. There's also lostlegacieспod@gmail.com. Send us questions. Yeah. But until next time, get
Get
lost.
lost.